Welcome to the France 24 Observers. This show is based on our network of observers. They're ordinary people around the world who tell us what's going on where they are and send in photos and videos to document it. We check everything here in Paris and bring the best to you. We begin today with the demonstrations that have been rocking Egypt. They were first organized on Facebook, but then the government cracked down on the internet and on phone lines. So the protesters had to get old school, pens and paper and cans of spray paint. Our observer was in the protests from the start. He's in Cairo and his name is Rami Raouf.
People are practicing the right to freedom of expression in different ways, using drawings, using characters, using pens and papers, drawings, graffiti. They are doing many things to express their opinion. Most of the graffitis say slogans against Hosni Mubarak and the current regime. For example, down, down with Mubarak, or leave out Hosni Mubarak, or the people want the regime down. During the night when the army tanks parked in Tahrir Square and in different streets in Egypt, people approached those tanks with different sprays and wrote on the tanks, down, down with Mubarak. And obviously the army officers didn't interrupt these people who are trying to draw on the army tanks. Actually, me and my friends are taking pictures and videos of anything related to the current uprising in Egypt, because the Egyptian government is trying the government shut down the internet connection and all of the communications methods such as SMS, and earlier it shut down all phone calls, local and international. We managed to have some internet connection, which is currently unstable, but we managed to do it.
Now to Iran, and more protests, sort of. Because of the mullahs and the religious police, young people in Iran face all kinds of restrictions. No alcohol, of course, but also no Western music and no crazy hairstyles. A group of young Iranians are staging a little protest of their own. You could call it the revolt of the curly hair. It's happening in Tehran, and our observer Asal Akhavan's been following it.
In Iran, lots of hairstyles are banned. Of course, for women who aren't allowed to show their hair in public, but also for men, there are hairstyles they're not allowed too. So a few young people with curly hair decided to create a Facebook group. There was just a handful of them at the beginning, but then the group started growing. They decided to meet up in real time in a park in Tehran to have a laugh. They thought the police would arrest them, but they let them gather for an hour before asking them to leave. I thought it was great because in Iran, most ways of having fun are banned. Of course, it was sort of a joke, but at the same time, it was a way of showing their right to express themselves. It wasn't overtly a political act, but it had political overtones. I used to have straight hair until I came across the group on Facebook. But when I saw them, I decided to have my hair curled. I live in Australia, but if I was in Tehran right now, I'd definitely be there with them.
We end today with Yarsagumba. That's what the Tibetans call a kind of mushroom that's found on their high plateaus. It's actually a fungus that grows in the larva of a caterpillar moth, and it can be worth up to $20,000 a kilo. Thousands of families depend on it for their living. We head to the Tibetan province of Litang in China with our observer Shay Friedenlund.
It's endemic to the Tibetan Plateau in the Himalayas, and Cordyceps sinensis results from a parasitic infection of the ghost moth or Theorodes larvae. An estimated 700 tons of the fungus enters the market every year. The way the product is marketed differs greatly in the West than in China. In the West, it's perceived as a type of Viagra. In China, it's largely perceived as an immune-boosting supplement. The major problem that I see with the Yarsagumba or Tongtao industry is a lack of regulation and an over-harvesting that threatens to render extinct a people's way of life and a means of earning a living. If there's no more Yarsagumba, then there will be no source of income for impoverished Tibetan nomads.
That's it for this week. As always, you can find more reports from our observers on our website. See you next time.